So, the final episode of season 2 of House of the Dragon has finally dropped, and boy was it an episode. This season, unlike the last, ends not really with a bang, but more with a whimper, I suppose. Feeling more like a penultimate episode, really, than a true finale. Ray finally has her dragon riders, including the asinine Ulf White, who needs to go. Like, I almost don't care if he's that important to your cause. You need to drill into him some respect, or everyone's going to start disrespecting you. I think it's another element of Rhaenyra's lack of preparation for being queen. Um, Sort of shining through. Like, she really won't properly discipline or replace Ulf. Um, and I think that is probably going to that sort of mentality is going to be a problem when she has to deal with, say, disobeying Lannisters or Tyrells. She remains a weak queen, in my opinion, and fairly indecisive. I think her being a bad queen was sort of the point in Martin's original Dance of the Dragons. Like, neither claimant was really all that deserving of the throne, although Rhaenyra being probably more deserving than Aegon, just in general, regardless of her being the rightful heir. Um, Characters from the future and the past in this world, I really think would just walk all over Rhaenyra, and not to mention Alicent, what dead grandchild Hightower, from Olenna Tyrell to Queen Visenya to bloody Shiera Seastar, who would probably eat their hearts for breakfast and use their royal blood in a black magic ritual. But I digress. And speaking of Alicent, okay, a big spoiler, of course. She flippin' she flippin' betrayed her family. Like I don't know about you, but if one person's family is responsible for my son's eye being gouged out, and also suggested that the same boy be tortured for speaking the truth, and also had my grandchild's head chopped off, and was currently waging war against me with the intent to chop off my other son's head, I wouldn't really be in much of a mood to sue for peace with said family. The showrunners, it feels like, even using the logic of their own story, seem to be forgetting that Alicent has a lot of good reasons not to go to Rhaenyra in this episode, and not to trust her. Um, Now, even stranger in this scene, it feels like all the subtext and nuance of the first season has just vanished. Alicent stands there and, ah, in a she rehashes all of her reasons for not liking Rhaenyra, um, in an episode short enough on time as it is, and we already know all of this. Like we've already been shown, most notably with in the aftermath of little Aemond losing his eye, why Alicent has a problem with Rhaenyra, and in a much more poetic, intelligent language than we receive in this scene. So not only were they sort of wasting time telling us something we already know quite well, but in an arguably worse, less interesting way, in a conversation between two characters whose obvious incompetence has led to a war in which countless innocent lives are going to be lost. Um, my boy Aemond, by the way, is losing his mind, and for that I'm kind of sorry, because I sort of love his creepy Elric slash Witcher aesthetic, and he's played by a terrific actor. But it feels like they've been trying to scrub the nuance from him in the latter half of the season. Maybe because they don't really want too many people rooting for the Greens. I'm not sure. He seems to be scrambling to regain the advantage against the blacks, going even so far as to manhandle his own sister, trying to get her to use her dragon against Damon at Harrenhal. Later, of course, Aemond tries a more subtle approach. The whole, "Hey, we were both on the Last Kingdom together. Why don't we team up and stick it to those Danes, or something?" And she's like, "No, because prophecy. You murderous psycho." And it feels a little like her telling him in very clear terms how he's going to die. Doesn't really work because that's not really how prophecies work in A Song of Ice and Fire. Something something the Valonqar, something something the dragon has three heads, right? You know what I mean? Like that felt like a very clear prediction from Helena there. Which leads me to Harrenhal. Damon's having a great time for once. He has his army. People are saying he should be king, and then he has a vision thanks to Alice Rivers indoctrinating him into the Weirwood cult. He sees he sees Patchface for starters, and let me tell you, I was freaking terrified when I saw that little drowned devil man waltzing around the Weirwood Grove with his antlered hat on. Um, if he'd sang, if we'd heard his voice, I'm sure we'd all be having nightmares about it. Um, and Damon, he sees a book accurate young blood raven and then he sees the White Walkers, and then he sees Daenerys and her dragons. So a lot of people might be thinking that means like he's having a vision about the coming of the prince or princess that was promised. But I think it was instead symbolizing the Song of Ice and Fire just in general. We see ice in the form of the whites, and fire in the form of Daenerys and her dragons. If the line about his is the Song of Ice and Fire, uh, then it means anything, then it would be a person embodying both ice and fire, not Daenerys who embodies fire and blood. It would be maybe, oh, I don't know, someone half Stark symbolizing ice, and I don't know, half Targaryen maybe symbolizing fire. Someone who perhaps comes back from the dead to serve a greater purpose. Someone who with a lot of symbolism in there, and it being rather clear that he is the chosen one. Of course, I'm talking about Hot Pie. In any case, are we supposed to believe that House of the Dragon takes place in a different universe now than the universe of Game of Thrones? Because as we know, Patchface doesn't exist in Game of Thrones, and Bloodraven looks like Max von Sydow, not a pallid birthmarked Melnibonian. uh, I, I actually liked that scene, that vision, to be honest. And if you want to change Fire and Blood, just so that you can cram more of this weird ass vision nonsense down my throat, then fine. I will be more than happy to accept that. Just don't change Fire and Blood to make Rhaenyra and Alicent suck. That would be my advice, especially not when there's not much time left in the episode for you to be wasting it on weird conversations that don't feel like they fit the world you're dealing with. And there's not a lot that happens in this episode aside from what has already been discussed. We get all these promises of violence and battles and the taking of King's Landing and the Battle of the Gullet, and none of it happens. Not even my girl in the Vale getting her dragon, or Tywin Lannister getting to do anything but annoy the crap out of me, uh, and make me ask, why is this important? Um, just to clarify, they abridged the blood and cheese scene in favor of Tywin Lannister dealing with the Triarchy, which you could have just said happened off screen. Um, but everyone goes off to war, and I think if Rhaenyra is going to make it to King's Landing, right? And then that should be the final episode of this season. That the final scene should be her entering the Red Keep and sitting down on the Iron Throne. There, done. Pans out. You're welcome. End credits. It's a shame because I like the show. I dare say I loved the first season, but you're losing your way, House of the Dragon. Your one eye is looking a little tired there, buddy. I think you might need to go home, take a 2-year nap, and maybe ask your friend and mine, your buddy George Martin himself, what the hell comes next. Anyway, I have been an increasingly exasperated Lord Connor Landon Freeman, author and game designer and all-around lover of all things weird. Like and subscribe if you want to hear me talk about more works of fiction, sharing my pseudo-professional opinion on such things. And so long for now. Yeah. Bye.